Gene,
All right, Bill.
how you doing,
How is
man?
it going, buddy?
All right, how you survived the hurricane?
I did. I just had too many power outages. One was 8 hours long, which kind of sucked, and then I had
Oh
some
wow,
shorter
yeah,
ones.
that's a
And
long
then
time.
yesterday, I actually had a couple hour internet outage, but at least I had power. So
That's good. Yeah, it was quite a storm actually. So anyway, so sorry for those that wanted to join on Friday, but we're doing it today. Um,
yeah, I had all kinds of power outages, issues that went on for, like I said, eight
yeah,
hours. 8 hours, just
yeah,
one of the four outages that day.
crazy. But again, our topic today on the Bioactive Nexus is demystifying biohacking. I'm excited about this
Biohacking.
because I learned a lot from doing the research on this as well, because I hear the term used all the time, right? And I know you have too. And it's like, okay, what does that really mean? You
So
know?
I want to ask you a question. When you first
Yeah.
heard the term, what did you think? At least, let me say, when you first heard the term applied to the dietary supplement industry,
Yeah.
what went through
Uh
your
huh.
head? I'll tell you my
Oh,
answer, but I want to hear your answer.
are we saying what went through my head in general about biohacking first, or
What
specifically
went
for
through your head
supplements?
with regard to its application to the dietary supplement industry? What's the first thing you thought of when you heard that? Somebody goes, "Oh, these guys are talking about
Uh,
biohacking and supplement."
yeah. Yeah.
What did
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
think?
My first reaction was, duh, yeah, we've been talking about this for years. Nutrigenomics, okay, modifying
Yeah,
gene expression.
that's exactly what I thought. I thought they're just calling out what it is already. I mean,
So
that's
call it what it is already. I mean, look, you can't change your genes, but you can modify gene expression, and
right.
that's by things you ingest, what you breathe, the environment, everything has that impact. That's just part of lifestyle and aging. So yeah, biohacking. It's just a fancy term. But the other thing I thought of, I have to say, okay, because we'll get to it here. No, let me save that for when we get to the CRISPR technology. Let's talk about that in
Okay.
a minute, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing I thought. But first of all, let's define what biohacking is, because I don't know that
Right.
everybody. I mean, honestly, I didn't. I mean, I knew about it for supplements, but I had no idea there's these other areas that are kind of in the umbrella of biohacking. So, what is it biohacking? Let me define it. So, it refers to the practice of making small incremental changes to one's biology or lifestyle to enhance physical or mental performance, health, and well-being. And so biohacking often aims to optimize the body's natural processes, promote longevity, we like that, right? And
Of
improve
course.
overall quality of life through scientific and experimental means. So, sounds cool, right?
Right. It does. And
And
for some people, it sounds a little scary. I've had people
yeah,
express concern about the idea
yeah,
without fully
yeah,
understanding what it is.
yeah. I think that's our comic book, sci-fi, Marvel, DC universe influence there that's come into play. Okay, I can't wait. I have to say it. The other thing I thought about biohacking was Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk. So
Right. 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 Exactly. Bruce Banner
um,
becoming the or Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, having been bitten by
bit
the
by
radioactive spider, and presumably
exactly,
something going on at the genetic levels changed. it's,
exactly.
it's a fun
Yeah,
idea.
it's a fun idea. Then of course, fast forward to all the, I grew up in those comic books. I was a Marvel Comics
Yeah.
fan. I wasn't a DC guy. I
I
could
did
never
I
get
did
into
both when
it.
I was a kid. I actually still have
I
some of them in a
tried.
box somewhere.
I had a box full of them for a long time, and when I was living in Denver, Colorado, they were in an outside storage unit, and some raccoons got in there and made a nice nest out of them. So destroyed them all. All my comics I had from when I was a kid. It's like okay. Anyway, uh, my wife laughs. You see the Big Bang Theory. You've seen that TV series, right?
Very
They're
everyone, yeah.
anybody that's a scientist or geek has seen that one there. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so we're going to demystify biohacking. We're going to address common misconceptions, and we're not. There is so much to cover in this topic. We could spend hours talking about it, but we're going to just give the highlights. I think is best, Gene, and then go from there. But let's start with the origins and evolution of biohacking, because this is interesting from an educational standpoint. So you want to start us off for the first bullet on that one?
Sure. So DIY, do-it-yourself biology.
Yeah.
So in the early 2000s, we had a group of amateur scientists and enthusiasts who began experimenting with biology in non-traditional settings. They used various affordable tools, open source knowledge, and they conducted biological experiments, often outside of established labs. Now, this grassroots approach encouraged people to take control of their own biology and health. That formed the foundation for biohacking. So that's a brief introduction to the DIY bio.
DIY. You said DIY, but DIY.
DIY. Yes, I did that on purpose. I wanted to make sure you were paying attention.
I'm paying attention, man.
You did good. Okay.
I'm totally dialed in. Do-it-yourself biology. That's it. Fascinating. So the next one is, and these happened in parallel, by the way. It wasn't like one after the other. It's not linear in terms of time frame, but you could say everything kind of started around the early 2000s. So in the last 20 years, the other area is transhumanism, which I had not heard that term before, Gene, but this is a philosophical movement that was focused on enhancing human capacities through technology and science. So again, every time I read these things, I start thinking about Marvel comics, or I start thinking about or all the super soldier movies, right?
Right.
Or actually, Captain America would be the prime example of that. He got injected with some, serum, and he became a super soldier. But
right, and technology too. I suppose you could even say Iron Man, through the wearing of his suit, is trans.
Well, it's a technology part. Yeah, there you go. And then transhumanists have long advocated for the use of emerging technologies to extend life, enhance cognitive abilities, and improve physical performance. So, and this, of course, inspired many biohackers to explore ways to push the limits of human potential. And we've seen lots of examples, and for sure that's inspired some things in mainstream media and movies and TV shows, for sure. No question, because people are interested in it,
They are. Now, I like, personally, because it's infinitely doable for virtually anyone, is the next point, what we call the quantified self movement. So about the same time, the concept of tracking personal data for self-improvement emerged. Now, this can include the use of wearable devices, Apple Watches,
exactly,
the Oura Rings, things like that, and apps that people can use, and different self-monitoring tools. And individuals began measuring aspects of their health, their sleep patterns, their heart rate, exercise performance. They create a feedback loop for optimizing their bodies and minds. And this is particularly cool because, again, as I said, it's infinitely doable, and you get some immediate feedback on how you're doing. For example, I was just telling you before we started that Nutrigenomics, that's my old company. That's funny. My current company, Nutriland USA, we're conducting a new study with the CRO on the effects of the tomato-based melatonin. And we're doing it with the CRO where all the subjects use the Oura Rings. And what's very cool is, so you can look at those people a month before you start and get a month's worth of baseline data and really see how they are. And then, boom, you start taking the melatonin, this specific one. What is the impact at different areas of sleep, how long you sleep, the type of sleep you get, the impact on your heart rate, variable heart rate, all these different things. And you get that data in real time. They don't have to go in and they don't have to have measurements and do all this. It just goes immediately from here to an app and boom. And you get that. And that's very, very cool. Now, that's not exact. I mean, it is a self-modulating thing, but it's also being used, for companies such as ours to be able to see the effectiveness of it. And I love that. I think that's just a very cool thing to be able to do.
It is very cool. And in fact, been using my Fitbit for years to track my sleep. exercise and
Oh,
all of
I
that.
used to use that all the time for my walking to
Yeah,
see how many steps I got in, And it
yeah,
was good because it kind of pushed me a little bit. I'd look at it and I'd go, oh, I wanted to get 13,000 steps. Oh man, I'm only at 11,000. I can get another 2,000 in.
yeah. I hear you, man. And the next one, our audience will be certainly very familiar with, and that's nootropics, okay, and supplements. So again, nootropics are another fancy term for things that affect mental clarity, focus of the brain, cognitive function, that sort of things. And there are a lot of supplements. We're going to talk some ingredients and details in a little bit, but they were an early influence on biohacking, okay, and the rise of nootropics like smart drugs and the focus on optimizing mental and physical performance through supplements. That's been going on in our industry for a long time. I remember uh, Jeffrey Bland years ago at Expo, was at a science conference before Expo, talking about nutrigenomics. That was the first time I heard it, I think. And he was kind of coined the term in that. But that's when the first uh, DNA testing kit came out for a saliva swab, and that was the first personalized kind of test sort of thing. We have a lot more of that today, and again, you're gonna see that really advance in the future too.
And I think
But
it's incredibly important, actually. And back when I had when Huntington University of Health Sciences was active, and I was involved in creating the doctorate program in nutrition, um, one of the courses I insisted be in there for
yeah,
was nootropics. Excuse me, nootropics. I know it's gone with my head today. I think I keep resetting my electrical, but talking about. I swear to God, I don't know what's wrong with my brain today. It keeps like resetting. I think I have all my resetting of the
maybe you need some
of the power.
nootropics, man.
Yeah, but I felt that was so important that we had to have a course in it. So yeah. Anywho, uh, moving on. So the next
And
item.
wait,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
The
No, go
next
ahead.
item is looking at some of the prominent figures in Silicon Valley influence. So entrepreneurs and tech enthusiasts like Dave Asprey, the founder of Bulletproof Coffee, um, helped popularize the term in the 2010s by incorporating lifestyle changes, dietary modifications, cutting edge science to optimize performance. So his concept of biohacking really spread rapidly, especially in Silicon Valley, where there was
Yeah,
just a
makes
growing interest
sense.
in longevity and human optimization, and so that fit very well. I think with our industry, they really loved that. Certainly, Bulletproof Coffee became very big as part of the
Yeah.
whole keto trend and intermittent fasting and all of that.
And it kind of fits with Silicon Valley and tech. That's the tech center, right? A lot of tech companies come out of there. I used to live in that area actually, and I remember you could drive down Sand Hill Road in Palo Alto, and you can see one building, next building, all VC firms, venture capital firm, boom, 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 lined up and are all down the street. And that's where all the money was for those kind of tech ventures. That's a lot of birth of tech things. And we're going to see a lot more of that in the future with the advent of AI. I'll talk about that later when we get to that. But let's go through now and talk about there's 6 areas of biohacking. So we'll go a little more detail here of each of these, and we're not going to go in great detail on all of them. Take too much time, but there's 6 areas. So types of biohacking. All right. So um, you want to start us off on the first one here, Gene, and
Sure,
we'll just
sure.
go
Again, back to
talk
the
about
DIY biology.
DIY.
Let's start there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
citizen science, at home labs, biohacking experiments. So, home
Right.
CRISPR kits. So, you can make yeast glow, you can modify plants in some way. The use of
Right.
bioprinting and 3D printing, impacting tissues and cell cultures, bacterial culturing for biomaterials, like genetically engineered bacteria for the production of biofuels. These are all examples of some of these DIY types of biology. Then you have amateur DNA sequencing, like
Yeah.
identifying unknown species in
Yeah.
soil samples, or mapping the genetic diversity in a particular ecosystem. You got synthetic biology experiments like creating bacteria that can sense pollution. You got open source insulin production, a big deal here.
Yeah.
Genetically engineered microorganisms to produce insulin at reduced costs, which I think is a great application. Biofluorescent plants, biohacked yeast for brewing and baking, citizen science and environmental monitoring, building a DIY lab equipment. This is one of the areas of biohacking that some of which are available to people at home, and others of which are available
Oh
to
yeah.
people and scientists to do different things.
Oh yeah.
So
And there's I just wanted to add one additional point on the insulin production one and genetically
yeah,
engineered microorganisms, because there's a lot of that going on in the industry. In fact, a lot of companies that produce, in fact, insulin primarily is produced by fermentation now, primarily. So, and again, it's taking the microorganisms, genetically modifying them, and engineering them to produce the ingredients. So, a lot of vitamins now are produced by fermentation instead of synthetic process. So, this is more
yeah.
sustainable, better for the environment, that sort of thing. So, I wanted to call that out because there is a lot of that going on right now.
And not just vitamins, other nutraceuticals as well.
Yeah.
With certain amino acids, other things are made
Yep.
via
Exactly.
that fermentation process. So yeah,
Yep. Tryptophan and other things. Yeah.
GABA.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we'll go a little more detail in the next one, of course, because this will be of most interest to the readers, audience. Nutritional biohacking. Okay, nutrigenomics. We already mentioned that. So this is optimizing the diet and supplements and fasting protocols. And again, it's about modifying gene expression. So it's not just what do you call it? Well, let's start with nootropics, right? And these are the cognitive enhancers. And so everybody's going to be familiar with these ingredients. So we can just kind of list them off here. So caffeine, for example, or L-theanine or alpha-GPC, bacopa, that's from Ayurvedic medicine. Yeah.
Medicine.
And then rhodiola rosea. Yeah. And then lion's mane mushroom. Okay. So these are just some examples of nootropic ingredients, which you all are familiar with, probably.
Yeah.
And then
very common.
Very common. Yeah. And then you want to talk about adaptogens?
Yeah. And then the adaptogens, which, are sort of predominantly used for stress and energy. But as people may know out there, the whole concept of an adaptogen is it helps your body to adapt to stressful situations. If you do high, it brings you low. If you do low, it brings you high. And
right.
Different cultures have their own adaptogens. Ashwagandha, of course, is in the Ayurvedic Indian culture. It's been around a long time, used to reduce stress, cortisol, improve energy, endurance. It's been shown to be helpful with so many things, including and not limited to even hormonal modulation. Just so many things. Ginseng, one of the granddaddies of all of the adaptogenic herbs, has been used in Asian cultures for thousands of years. Energy, mental clarity, stress resilience, even research on it specifically for helping with immune results, where you can have improvements in immune measurements within an hour after taking it. Cordyceps, fungus, sort of a quasi mushroom, but enhancing athletic performance. A lot of talk about that, improving stamina, oxygen utilization, energy production. And of course, maca, Peruvian herb. It does many things, boosting energy, mood, libido, hormonal balance. And there's been a number of studies on it with regard to things even like menopause, where it's had some great efficacy. So the adaptogens are another big area of truly helping with biohacking, helping your body to adapt and respond differently than it might otherwise have responded, because now it's functioning at a better level.
I thought it was interesting that rhodiola was in the nootropic category, but really it's an adaptogen as well. And,
it is an adaptogen, and that's what I first and foremost think of it. But you could, honestly, You could put ashwagandha there
Yeah,
too, and you could put ginseng there too.
that's right.
They all have I mean, so it kind of goes back and forth between the categories.
Yeah, they go together with that whole sort of indication there.
Yeah.
Our next area of ingredients for nutrigenomics here is omega fatty acids, and
Yep.
we're going to do a deep dive on this and
Yes,
on
we
October
are.
11th, because we have a new thing, and this is our time for the promo here. Here we go. Yes, the
bioactive breakdown. What is that, Bill?
Well, we're going to do our first show in this new format, which is basically we're going to take ingredients. We cover kind of superficially the science, and we cover multiple things in our show normally. But this is for a deep dive on the science for one ingredient or particular ingredient. And the format is that we have, and we're testing this out the first time, but we're going to have a panel of 3 guests for that, who are experts in the field and on the science for omega fatty acids, and that's omega 3, 6, 7, 9. There's a lot of that. So if you really want to learn about the science and deep dive on that with us, tune in on October 11th. We're going to have our guest panelists with us. It'll be the first time we've had guests on our show, Gene. So it'll be
nice.
I hope we don't have any technical issues here because we have people
from your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, and calling in from Norway and around the world here. So, but I think we'll be okay. But anyway, and if our plan is to do that maybe once a month or something like that, where we do one of these bioactive breakdowns, or every other month or something like that, where we deep dive in the science. So it takes more time to prepare for that show. It's going to be a little bit longer show, I think, in format, because we're going to be having a lot of discussion on the science. So anyway, tune in for that, as I said, on October 11th, and I'll put an announcement out again on our LinkedIn page and through our social media when that comes. So I'm going to save the deep dive in omegas for that show. And then just kind of slide right into ketones and MCT oils. Okay, so that's medium chain triglycerides, right? So, so exogenous ketones like BHB salts are used to support ketosis, improve cognitive function, enhance endurance. And by the way, I have an app on my phone that I track for intermittent fasting. So I track my time periods and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. It does a whole bunch of other things as well. And it also gives you a readout when your body starts going into ketosis, right? It's after so many hours, then your body starts going into ketosis, which is where your body gets a chance to repair the cells. So this is a way of intermittent fasting. It's a way of biohacking your body and training it, because and I've been doing that for years. But one of the reasons it's I'd say it's very successful. Now, people think of it just maybe to lose weight, or when they hear the word fast and Gene, they think, oh no, I can't do that. But the reality is you can, and you can train your body to that. And it's not like you go out and fast for days and you don't eat. No, it's not like that. So you just restrict your eating periods to a certain time window,
at a certain time.
16A.
You sleep, and you don't eat breakfast until later. So, yeah.
Right, exactly. Which works out for me because I work out in the morning. So by then I've already burning calories as well. But here's the key thing. It really, when you're eating all the time and eating late at night and all that, this is not good for your body, because then your body has to take time to, it uses energy and takes time to process all that food you're eating repeatedly, and does not have time to work on fixing cells in your body or cleaning up your body. So it's really important to have that fasting ketosis period where your body can start to work on your cells. So very cool. And then medium chain triglycerides, so which are primarily coconut oil, I'd say, or something like that. But it's a fat that's readily absorbed for energy or ketones, and it's used by biohackers to boost energy, support brain function, promote fat loss. So again, I don't know if there's a lot of research in that area, honestly, but I can tell you just from a practice physically of doing intermittent fasting, that really does have some great benefits. I've seen that myself. Anyway, next one. There he is.
I'm having internet problems. I thought it was all done yesterday, but apparently it's not all done. It's still messing with me. Now it doesn't say I have a problem at the moment, but hopefully we'll be okay.
All right. All right. While you're here, why don't you take the take that if you would.
Okay. So antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. All right. So probably the one that most comes to people's mind is curcumin, which is from the turmeric plant. And that is, in fact, a very powerful antioxidant. It's a very effective anti-inflammatory. And as far as herbal anti-inflammatory agents are concerned, there's probably the most versions of different forms of curcumin on the market than just about anything, because it has very poor bioavailability. So there's many forms out there where they do something to it to improve the bioavailability. And a lot of studies beyond bioavailability showing efficacy. So anti-inflammatory effects, we're seeing effects for brain health. We're seeing a lot of effects in reducing joint pain, supporting longevity, just a whole lot of different, even just for exercise and delayed onset muscle soreness. So great stuff with curcumin. Resveratrol is another very interesting one. That was the whole thing that was associated with the French paradox, the so-called French paradox, where they, ate a lot of saturated fats, they smoked, and yet they had a lesser rate of heart disease. And it was attributed to the fact that they drank wine and got a lot of resveratrol and other things. There may be more to it than that, like for example, they ate a more Mediterranean diet. But these compounds certainly have been studied for their anti-aging properties, active. And here's a real nutrigenomic effect where you're having activation of the SIRT1 gene, producing the sirtuin protein, having effects potentially on longevity and other areas of human health and wellness, including cardiovascular health. And it's anti-inflammatory too. Quercetin, of course, that's a flavonoid. It's been around and in use for a long time in our industry. Antioxidant, anti-inflammatory effects, used for endurance, even some research on it for allergies. So some pretty cool stuff. And then one of my favorite I use every day is N-acetylcysteine. It's a great precursor to glutathione, which is kind of your body's master antioxidant. And it's also involved in detoxification, one of the primary detoxification pathways in the liver. Reduces oxidative stress, does so many positive things. And so these are some of the major antioxidant, anti-inflammatory compounds. So amino acid, you want to go with that one?
All right, Gene. Yeah, I think we're going to move a little bit quicker here to get through the rest of it because we have a lot we could go in detail on all these ingredients. So just capture the highlights here. So amino acids like L-glutamine, L-carnitine, branch chain amino acids. Okay, you see that in sports products, enhance exercise and recovery and all that. So that's we see that. Of course, probiotics and prebiotics. There's a lot going on with microbiome and gut health, and we're going to see a lot more coming from that area in the near future. A lot of research is going in that area, so excited to see where that goes. So methylation support, what does that mean, Gene? What are we talking about there?
Okay, so source methyl donors such as methylfolate, methylcobalamin, MSM, things of this nature, support methylation pathways. Now, those are particularly crucial for DNA repair, for energy production, for detoxification. And so that is something that has been sort of in the nutrition science arena for a number of years now, and it's continuing to gain in popularity and understanding. Oh, trimethylglycine is another one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah. Then we have, these are categorized. Obviously, these ingredients cover more, obviously have more than one benefit. So anti-aging, longevity. So you have the NAD plus precursors. There's been a lot of research in this area of products, as we know, for cellular energy production and affecting aging. And then CoQ10, ubiquinol, we're very familiar with that, of course. Um, and then pterostilbene, is that how you say that? It's similar to
It sure
resveratrol,
is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it has
It's
better
actually a
bioavailability.
metabolite. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
There's less research on it than resveratrol, but the research that there is very promising. Similar effects because it's a metabolite of resveratrol.
yeah,
Um, then you got your hormonal modulators, things
right.
like DHEA. Now, I'm just going to say one of the ones that's often attributed to increased testosterone levels is tribulus terrestris, but the fact is, in any of the studies that's been done, they haven't actually
Yeah,
found that it increases testosterone.
exactly.
But they have found that things like ashwagandha and a few others actually have impacted testosterone production. But
Yeah,
DHEA can help with both testosterone and estrogen. Chrysin it was thought to have anti-estrogenic effects, been used by some biohackers to help in that area. A little secret for those who want to know, but a combination of astaxanthin together with saw palmetto has been found to have a anti-estrogen effects, helping to reduce the conversion of testosterone to estrogen and helping to reduce the conversion of testosterone to DHT. So that's a nice thing to know.
hmm And then, of course, we have sleep enhancers. We're very familiar with these: melatonin,
Yep.
magnesium glycinate, magnesium, and then GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid, which, both GABA and magnesium target the GABA A receptor in the brain
Help you
chemistry of
relax.
that.
Help you
Help
relax,
you
which is
relax.
important.
Yep, exactly. Help regulate sleep-wake cycles and all that.
Yeah.
Blood sugar regulation. Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
Um,
Berberine. I know that you
mhm.
and I both take berberine, and I think we both take
Yep.
about the same amount. And it
Yep.
definitely shows efficacy for lowering blood sugar, improving insulin sensitivity, supporting different parameters of metabolic health, including blood lipids.
Yep.
Cinnamon extract also helping to regulate blood sugar levels, improve insulin sensitivity, and chromium. There's different forms: chromium picolinate, chromium polynicotinate, another one called Chromin-X3. Several of these have been shown to really improve glucose metabolism, support insulin function. If somebody's a diabetic or has problems, my first place to go is make sure they're getting enough
Yeah.
chromium, and then go to other areas.
And the last area for our supplements, nutrigenomics section, the type of biohacking is electrolytes and hydration, which is pretty much common sense. A lot of people don't get enough water. Your body's made up of what, 70+% water, right? So water is pretty important. And then all the electrolytes, especially if you exercise, you need to replace those electrolytes. So after I work out, I have my after post-workout recovery drink with the electrolytes and all of that, help with muscle recovery and all of that as well. So that's super important. Magnesium, potassium, sodium, all these electrolytes are important in your body. And particularly during fasting or ketogenic diets we talked about earlier. So that wraps up that section. The next one we're not going to go through in great detail, but it is interesting to call out kind of the highlights here, Gene, I think. And that's so we had DIY biology, we had nutrigenomics and supplements. Now we have genetic biohacking or CRISPR technology or gene editing. So this one comes with a lot of ethics issues, I think, is the
It
main
does.
hurdle because now you're changing genes. Okay. Now I can see the positive benefits for that in many areas, like for different diseases, that sort of thing, and there's been success in that. But again, I can see the room for this type of technology to be abused, and
You start
again,
thinking about eugenics and things like Nazism,
super
and now they're trying to create the perfect person. Yeah.
eugenics. That's right, exactly.
But
So,
I'll tell you what well, I think this is your thing to talk about, but I was very interested in he Jianku and his
yeah.
initial work. I mean, he ended up going to jail for it, but I thought it was quite interesting.
Okay. So let me run through just the bullets on genetic biohacking. So CRISPR, human gene editing. again, that comes with ethical issues, that kind of stuff, and there's been some experiments done on that. Just to call out, there was a Chinese scientist that was 2018. It was I'm just going through the highlights of the bullets here. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then there's been experiments with curing genetic diseases in animals. Okay, so that's kind of interesting, and they're working in mouse models, that sort of thing. Again, CRISPR for sickle cell anemia and beta thalassemia, and actually there's been some success in that in 2020 with being able to treat with CRISPR edited cells and actually make improvement with the different for those diseases. Gene edited animals for disease resistance. So again, you're trying to improve the animals for to remove certain retroviruses or whatever. And one application for that is like with pigs, actually, the organs are very similar to humans. So if they could remove the retroviruses in that sense, then there's opportunity for xenotransplantation between species, which I think is interesting. But again, I would say there's some ethics risks or ethics sort of things for that. Of course, CRISPR in agriculture, we know about genetically modified and applying to crops and improving
Right.
disease resistance, all that. That's been around for a while. Eliminating malaria, there's been a lot of experience with that. Believe it or not, I traveled to, this is years ago, but I traveled to Papua New Guinea, and malaria is a real serious condition there because, and you don't normally see people in advanced stages of malaria sickness. So it's transmitted by mosquitoes. So there's still, believe it or not, a lot of areas of the world that require that. So this could have some benefits there. CRISPR in cancer research, that would be kind of cool if you could modify your T cells to take out the cancers in your body. Now, wouldn't that be
Yeah.
better than radioactivity or,
Oh, sure.
those types of,
I agree.
Eradicating HIV with CRISPR, there's some people working on that. That would be kind of cool to do that. De-extinction of species. So can you say Jurassic Park?
Oh boy, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Oh my.
Yeah. Yes, and again, that comes with responsibility. Well, there's a reason those species. I mean, obviously, ones that were extinct millions of years ago. Well, they had their time, so it's not time for them anymore. And I can't see doing that. And to me, I think it's fascinating science, but I'm not kidding. Somebody's probably doing a Jurassic Park today, probably trying to do that kind of research. So CRISPR for organ transplant compatibility, enhancing photosynthesis in plants, customizing pets. I think this is a little weird, to be honest. But there's a lot of people that are breeders and that sort of thing.
That feels too much like eugenics.
It's too much like eugenics, yeah. Eradicating hereditary blindness. Now, that would be an advance that would be worthy of this technology, I think. So, and there's been some early clinical trials in 2020 on that. So, fascinating. So, again, there's a lot of research going in that area. That's not our field, but you can certainly do some research in that. Good to know about it. The next type of biohacking, right, is what you already mentioned, Gene, technological biohacking, use of wearables, implantables, data tracking for performance optimization. So this is, I think we're very familiar with that. And we're going to see a lot more of that with personalized nutrition. Nobody's cracked the nut on that one yet. And this is where I see the advances in AI technology come into play here. So again, partial reveal of what I'm working on is a technology play with AI that's going to advance in our industry, and it plays right into this area. So excited about that. It's going to launch next year, Gene, as you know, and we're working on the prototype right now. So stay tuned for that. Neurohacking, you want to talk about that one a little bit, Gene?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we're looking at both techniques as well as supplements to enhance cognitive function. Well, the supplement part's obvious.
Biofeedback.
We talked about some of the nutraceuticals, but the techniques are things like biofeedback, and which are amazingly effective at helping with cognitive function. I remember years ago, my wife was seeing this one guy who is a biofeedback specialist, And it was just the most amazing thing how it helped her in so many ways. And I tried it a few times, and it was just amazing how effective it was. I even found a low-tech version of biofeedback, which was nothing more than using a blood pressure cuff and working at calming myself and watching my blood pressure go down because I could see that. I mean, so neurohacking is a very real thing, both with supplements, both with techniques that are used. And I think that's very real, and that has, I think, a fairly bright future.
Yeah, I do too. So number 5 in our types of biohacking, 5 out of 6, that's cold exposure and heat therapy. That's worth going through a little more details here because I found this quite fascinating. And, and what really caught my eye was my wife is doing physical therapy right now, and they just got one of these hydro baths to do the ice bath therapy. And I'm thinking, do I want to go sit in a tub with ice and water? I can't imagine that. But and you've heard of people doing the polar plunges, right? Where in Nordic regions, whatever they do the
yeah. It never appealed to me.
I'm not sure, but I want to try it. So anyway, but here's some of the benefits actually. Here's some of the actual benefits. I talked to the physical therapist about this. It was fascinating. So, and I guess this is not like a one-off thing. This would be like a regular therapy you would do on your body because you're beginning. The whole point of biohacking is to modify and affect your biology of your system. And so one would be fat loss. So it activates brown fat. So cold exposure may
shivering
increase metabolism,
thermogenesis.
promote weight.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
shivering thermogenesis.
And again, some of these areas, not a lot of research in them, but they're fascinating nonetheless. The other is enhanced recovery. So again, cold therapy, we know this from muscle soreness, reduces inflammation, that sort of thing. Can speed up recovery after exercise. So you see a lot of athletes doing the ice bath, after a game or something like that. Improved mood and mental clarity. So it releases norepinephrine, which can enhance mood and focus and stress resilience. So, go outside in the cold weather and you're activating these sorts of things on your body. You're stressing your body. So if you're doing that and then taking adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha and rhodiola, and that's what the Vikings did. They took rhodiola before they went into battle. But they lived in very frigid, cold environments. So they had very robust resilience to the elements. Most people today probably couldn't handle that. And then strengthens the immune system. So regular cold exposure bolsters the immune system, which seems counterintuitive. People think like, oh, you go out in the cold, you're going to catch a cold. Well, no, you don't catch a cold from the cold. It's from a virus or bacteria or something like that. Anyway, and then the other one is heat exposure, right? And there's different areas for that.
Well, certainly for detoxification, sweating has been found to. I mean, there's documented evidence of that, and helping you to just remove toxins from the body vis-a-vis sweating. And that's known, and it makes total sense that heat improves circulation, improves blood flow, muscle recovery, all of that. Enhancing recovery and relaxation. Heat therapy is used all the time. My wife has a problem with sciatica, which she's having dealt with, but she often has to sit on a heating pad, and it helps her a great deal. So it makes a big difference for her muscles and her pain. Increased longevity, heat shock proteins activated during heat exposure have been linked to enhanced cellular repair, longevity, mood enhancement. Heat exposure releases endorphins, improves mood, reduces anxiety and stress, and better endurance. Regular heat exposure can lead to improved cardiovascular function and better athletic performance. So, well, there you go.
Speaking of and I was just going to say, just to expand a little bit there, I've done some of this myself as well. I've been doing native ceremonies and sweat lodges for years. And the first time you do it, it's pretty intense because you have just to give you a little highlight of what that's like, is you have a sweat lodge. It's on the ground floor. You have a pit in the middle of the lodge, and you bring hot lava stones that have been they're red hot, that have been in a fire. And then there's like 4 rounds, and each round you bring in 7 more stones. So by the time you get to the 4th round, you've got 28 stones in there, like about this size, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they add to the heat. And of course, you're throwing water on the fire in there, and it's super, super hot. Now, it's the experience from that you feel after you get out of that. And of course, it's one of those practices you develop. And again, that sort of thing has been a part of indigenous cultures all over the world for a long time. In addition to the polar plunges, but also the sweat lodges. There's been some form of sweat lodge in Native American cultures all through North America and Europe as well. I've heard, I forgot what they call it in Russia, but it was done years ago, long time, thousands of years ago. So a lot going on there. But it does work in terms of enhancing. I've had some incredible experiences with that. Exercise and movement is our last type of biohacking. So it's functional fitness and optimization of movement. So we're not going to go into details about that. So let's talk about our next 2 topics, and then we'll wrap it up. And that is, what are the popular biohacking trends today? We're not going to go into a lot of detail of this, and some of it I already talked to. And then we'll get into the future of biohacking, which I think is fascinating, where it's going. And we'll just wrap it up with that. What do you think, Gene?
Sure. I'll lead off with the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. We kind of touched on that. I don't think we need to talk too much more about it, but that is arguably the most popular of the biohacking trends.
Yeah, I would agree.
When I was at Supply Side East, one of the things I spoke on this last year was microdosing of psychedelics for mental enhancement.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's something that is trending. Some of them that's done under doctor's care in many instances, in other instances not. And sleep hacking techniques and personalized supplementation protocols. Those are the popular biohacking trends. Any additional commentary on that from you, my friend?
No, we already talked. No, I'm aware of the microdosing. I've seen a lot of talk about that. And of course, we've already talked about all these a little bit. The personalized supplementation protocols, we're going to see that really advance with technology. We'll get to that when we talk about the future stuff in a minute. But in fact, that segues us right into that. Let's talk about the future of biohacking. What does that look like? So I think first is we're going to see personalized and precision medicine. All right. So biohacking is going to move towards a more personalized approach. And of course, supplements are going to factor into that quite well.
Do you remember 23andMe when it first came out? When it very first came out? Yeah, they were doing that, and then they got slammed because they were being so they had to like redesign what they were doing, and they did talk about health things, but they didn't talk about things that'll help you, supplements and so forth.
Speaking of 23andMe, I don't know if you saw the business news last week on that company, the woman who founded it. Her whole board of directors walked out on her last week, the last 2 weeks, the last week of 2 weeks, because they're not doing well as a company. I think we're going to see them go out of business, go bankrupt, because
that's a shame.
It's a shame. But the promise was, having all this genetic information, they could design new drugs and all that kind of thing, and that never came to pass. So that's not unlike many other approaches over the years that I've seen in terms of structure-based drug design or these other things. Mother Nature still does it best. And every time we try to go into a technology thing like that, and I think on the genetic side is quite complicated. It's very, very complicated. And, it's complicated just from what you take in from supplementation as well. It's complex chemistry there. So I think in terms of genetics, it's even more complicated when you talk about the biology there. So we're going to see, it's funny you brought up 23andMe, but I just saw that in the news last week, I think. Doesn't look good for those guys. So where's the future? The future of that, okay, that's going to improve. So there'll be advances in genomics, epigenetics, genetics, and wearable technology, all that kind of stuff. We're going to see a lot more in that area in terms of technology. And microbiome analysis. In fact, I saw it supply side last year. We're getting ready to come up with supply side here again. But in terms of personalized nutrition, and again, nobody's cracked the nut on this. Personalized isn't really personalized as it is today. Quote, maybe they do a questionnaire. It's really qualitative. But, in terms of a supplement, millions of people are going to take the same supplement, based on the same similar profile, right? Age, whatever. So we haven't
more
really
like they got 10 supplements.
And that's,
yeah, it's just like, okay, we got 10 supplements. You take a quiz. You should take supplement 1, 3, 5, and 10.
right.
And somebody else takes supplement 1, 2,
Exactly.
8, and whatever. So,
yeah.
But I agree. I think that there's a great future outlook with
next
that.
one. Yeah. Yeah, there is.
Gene editing.
We'll see what happens
CRISPR.
in the future in that. All right, then the next one, right?
I'm fascinated to see where that goes.
So I am too, and I know there's ethical concerns about that, and also there's ethical concerns about use of AI. However, again, it's a tool, right? And if it's used responsibly, then yes. But let's not get overly conservative to the point where we're concerned about something that we don't even have a vision for what's going to be the outcome.
Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Keep an open mind and let's look at the whole thing.
Be responsible. Yeah, exactly. The next one is advanced wearables and implantable devices. So we're going to see a lot of advances in smartwatches, fitness trackers, all kinds of stuff that can be able even more in real time of measuring certain markers on that. So you can imagine you have a wearable that's maybe it's an implantable or something like that that's able to track, blood glucose levels in real time, right? And you monitor it, you can see it on your phone and see the app, or it could be any other kind of biomarker. That's one of the limitations with supplements and seeing how it benefits in terms of clinical study design, right? Is trying to figure out what markers are up-regulated or down-regulated based on the supplementation and what you're modifying there. So I think there's more to come in that area, don't you?
Oh, there is. I mean, even now, if you're a diabetic, you can get a prescription for a little device that you tape to your arm, and it'll sync with your smartphone, and you can see where your glucose levels are at,
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. The next one is artificial intelligence and biohacking. This is the one area, Gene, I'm most interested in. I've been studying AI now for months, all this year, and I use the tools, various tools for that. And it's a powerful tool. And it really, I think I said this in an earlier podcast, it really advances, it realizes on the promise of the computer age, that came back many years ago, but being able to save you time, okay, and do lots of things and help be an assistant, so to speak. So every day I see something new about new technology. You know what I just saw yesterday that the guys at Meta are doing? That's Mark Zuckerberg, right? A Facebook guy. So they have these glasses. They're not commercially available yet. You put on the glasses and you can. It's like a heads-up display inside the lenses there, and you can manipulate and see things in real time. So, and it can identify, the AI identifies something you're looking at and can do it for you. And then you can just do little movements with a wristband in your arm and your fingers and manipulate that. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. That's very cool.
I just saw that a couple of days ago, a video on that. It was pretty fascinating. But anyway, AI, machine learning, this is the real challenge for AI. A lot of people don't understand what that means by artificial intelligence. The first thing they think about is the Terminator, right? Machines are going to take over all right, and they're going to take out that. Well, I mean, we're a long ways from AI becoming sentient, so to speak, or transformer-wise. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
Even if it ever does, I don't know that it will. But we are going to see advances in terms of machine learning, which is really the big part. So right now, people don't realize this. ChatGPT and all these others from OpenAI and other platforms like that, they're just scraping the internet with the information that's already out there, but they can do it faster and pull it together. You still have to double check everything. But if you wanted to use AI as a tool to as a function, to do some sort of exercise or whatever, you've got to train the machine to do that. And this is where the challenge is. This is where all the engineers are working, is on machine learning, these large language models. This is really fascinating to me. So we're going to see rapid advances in this area, especially with you start combining that with genetic information, lifestyle data, biometric feedback. All these sorts of things are going to play right into these wearables and different apps. So I'm excited about the future of that one. It's going to be cool.
I agree. I think that's going to be very
next
cool.
one, Gene.
So nootropics, cognitive function, we kind of covered that. Nootropics, smart drugs, all of those things gaining popularity, enhance your focus, your memory, and all of that. I think the future outlook is we're going to see more in this area. This is a continuing to trend area, not surprisingly, as the aging of America, people are more concerned with, cognitive function. And this may ultimately develop some drugs that aren't just for dementia. It could just be, regular age-related memory impairment, and we'll see where this all goes. But certainly right now we have some good stuff for cognitive function, and I think it's going to continue to go that way. And the next one is longevity, anti-aging, and there's a lot that is going down that route. We're looking at senolytics compounds that clear out aging cells, NAD boosters, autophagy promoters, caloric restriction mimetics, all of these different things that can add, years to your life and life to your years. There's many things here in the nutraceutical world and beyond that can help with this, and I think this is only going to get greater as you look now. Oh, this celebrity passed away and they were 90 something. It wasn't that long ago when the celebrities were passing away. They were 80 something, and then they were 70 something. Now they're getting older. Everybody is having a longer lifespan. Things have changed, and I think they're going to continue to change for the better. When I go to the next one.
Yeah. So neurohacking and brain-computer interfaces. Okay, this is fascinating. So actually, I don't know if you saw this movie with Jennifer Lopez. It was on Netflix, only on Netflix. It was a futuristic sci-fi or whatever, but there was like an earpiece that went over the ear and attached to the brain, and they interfaced with the computer. So they became like one with the machine. So that's exactly what I think of when I look at this topic here, is that sort of thing. And I've already seen for people with missing limbs where they can operate the prosthetic by using a brain interface, which is really fascinating. And imagine what that can do for people and help people. I think that's kind of cool. So we're going to see a lot of these control devices that are going to help us with motor functions or memory or focus, and also help people with neurodegenerative disease. Can you imagine somebody with Parkinson's, something like that can work?
Wow.
To help that. That's fascinating to me. And then go ahead. No, then we've got a couple more here.
With the rise and the advent of more, So DIY biohacking labs more of them are coming out. You're going to have more with individual gene editing kits and molecular biology tools, things that you as a person can do yourself and look at. That's happening. The next one is biohacking for mental health and well-being, and that's things like meditation, mindfulness, neurofeedback, things to optimize emotional well-being, as well as some nutraceuticals that can help. And I think that the future outlook for that is extremely bright. We see this continuing to take place. It falls along that realm of personalized mental health solutions. Do you want to go for the next one?
Yeah. So let's see. You just talked about mental health and well-being. So regenerative medicine and tissue engineering. So there's a lot being done with stem cell therapy and engineering tissues. I know they're making these in the lab. So the only call out I have for something like that in anti-aging is if you think about it, if you use CRISPR technology and all these things, and you can extend your lifespan to 150 years, what happens to the population growth in terms of being able to support that? This is an ethical question I have. It's like, okay, our bodies are meant to die at a certain point. I mean, who wants to be immortal? And I think that premise is it's been covered in science fiction movies in terms of immortality. It's not all it's cracked up to be, but certainly people. I think what's more important about that is focusing on quality of life in that lifespan. So you have a high quality of life for the lifespan. Maybe you live a little few years longer, but again, it's a high quality of life. I think is the important part for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have like three more bullets on this to wrap it up. Ethical and regulatory challenges. We already mentioned this. Again, when we start getting into gene editing, that sort of thing, I think that is definitely an area that could be abused, no question. And of course, mainstream acceptance of biohacking, I think that goes hand in hand with AI.
It
So I
does.
think I have a prediction here, Gene. I actually think in the next 5 to 10, even just 5 years, we're going to see parallels between these technologies merging together and really advancing in terms of in this area, what we call biohacking. So,
Right.
in terms of improvement of quality of life, which is fascinating. So, anyway, and then the last thing is, and we'll wrap it up, is augmented reality and virtual reality, okay, for health optimization. So remember, I was just talking about that something that Meta is developing with the glasses that you can do. So there's
Right.
lots of applications for that kind of technology to enhance.
And I think it's just going to grow. I think that's just going to continue to be
Yeah,
big.
it's going to be, and I'm a big sci-fi fan. I know, like you are, and I've seen this in movies. If you think about Star Trek, the original series that came out in the '60s, they had communicators, which were
The
mobile
flip
phones
phone.
today,
Yep.
flip phone. Then they had the scanning beds and non-invasive medical procedures, right?
Right.
With an
DEXA, right?
injectable. I mean, yeah, this exists today. So a lot of science fiction becomes science facts. So I think we're going to see huge, huge advancements in that area. Uh, and I'm excited about a lot of this, actually, especially in the AI area, like I said. So anyway, let's wrap it up, Gene.
Sure.
Um, so in conclusion, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. We talked about there's three takeaways from this, and the first one is the future of biohacking is set to integrate advanced technologies such as AI, genetic editing, and wearable devices. That's what I was just saying, that they're going to happen in parallel, offering unprecedented opportunities in personal health optimization. That's exciting because we're in that field, right, Gene? We're in that health and wellness area. Um, and
We are in
finally,
that field.
we're already see these things happening, and of course, in context, a contrast to that is comes the ethical, regulatory, and safety challenges, which have to evolve as well, so that the technology is not abused, it's not harmful to anybody, that sort of thing. But again, overall, the biohacking movement is going to continue to influence the way we interact with, as individuals, interact with our biology, and actually, this is going to realize the personalized nutrition piece, Jane. This is what I'm going to see happening with the technology. That's my prediction. We're actually going to have truly personalized nutrition at some point with the technology married up with that. So, exciting
May,
times ahead.
maybe some clever person will come up. Maybe some clever person will come up with some kind of a, I don't know, AI, assisted device to help with that. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It could happen, Gene. I might know somebody that's working on that. Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to close up with, Gene? And we'll wrap it up here. Take us out.
Just this. If you guys, any of you are coming to Supply Side West,
Oh yeah.
come see us. I'll be at the Nutrilland USA booth if I'm not conducting an education session. I got a couple of those, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you're going to be, Bill, but you'll be around.
I am going to be. I'm going to be around, and actually, I'm doing some projects with Viva Five, if you know them. So I'll be hanging out with those guys probably. We have our podcast, don't forget, on the Thursday afternoon, the 31st. And after the show is all done, we have our karaoke night. So
That's right.
which So that's going to be fun. Anyway, but that's it for me, guys. And thanks for joining us today. I hope this demystified biohacking for you a little bit. And you understand a little bit better. So with that, I'll say goodbye. See you next time.
See you next time.